Well, this morning we are blessed to hear from two members of our Colonial Church family whose lives and callings have led them to Malawi and into deep partnership with Pathawira. Dr. Stacy Algren came to Kansas City in 2007 and soon after joined Colonial. While working as an obstetrician and gynecologist at St. Luke's Hospital, she met Dr. Annie Alaniz, who shared her remarkable story and her dream of giving back to her home community in Salima, Malawi. Stacy was moved to join that mission, and through partnership, fundraising, and support of Colonial Church, what began as a vision grew into Pathawira, safe haven. Since 2017, Stacy has traveled to Malawi 4 times, offering health care that keeps mothers with their babies and working to improve the lives of women and children. Dr. Lisa Gilmer is a 3rd-generation member of Colonial, following in the footsteps of her grandparents and parents, and raising her own children here as well. For 25 years, she has served as a pediatrician in Kansas City, living out her calling to use the gifts God has given her to care for children. Though she never imagined she would go to Malawi herself, the pandemic stirred a need to reignite her passion for medicine. In 2023, she took a leap of faith and joined Stacy on a medical mission. That experience changed her in profound ways, renewing her sense of vocation and deepening her commitment to the mission of Pathawira. Together, Stacy and Lisa embody the Colonial Covenant to love our neighbors near and far, and to honor God through their professional and personal lives. This morning, they will share their stories with us, stories of faith, calling, and the Spirit's work on the mountains of Malawi and in the valleys of everyday life. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Stacy Algren and Lisa Gilmer.
Mubunji. Hello and how are you in Chichewa, which is the most common language in Malawi besides English because they were under British rule until the 50s.
Jambo. Hello in Swahili, the most common native language in Tanzania. We are both really grateful to have the opportunity to speak to you today about our own Holy Ground story. We'd like to recognize Colonial Church and many of its members for donating to the Pathawira cause, as well as praying for our safety while we were gone.
So here is a map of Africa, which I'm sure you guys have not spent a long time looking at, but I was gonna point out the 2 countries where we were at. So Tanzania is on the eastern middle. It's the green country along the east coast there. And Kilimanjaro sits just south of the border of Kenya in the northeast area of Tanzania. Malawi is a little sliver of a country right below it. You can almost blink and miss it. It's really long and narrow, and it's adjacent to the blue, which is Lake Malawi. Malawi is divided into 3 districts, the north, the central, and the south, and Salima district is in the central district right along Lake Malawi. Our journey took us up the highest mountain in Africa and then back down to one of the poorest countries in the world. In both places, we found ourselves standing on holy ground, moments where we felt awe, connection, and a sense of something greater.
So this is Mount Kilimanjaro, the day we started out on our journey. It seemed really far away, and it was very far away. The group that you see on the right, this is our hiking team. There are 8 of us, and I want to introduce you to them because without them, neither one of us would have been successful in our climb. On the far left is Dr. Annie. So she is the heart and soul of our team. Next to her is Jimmy, and Jimmy actually grew up an orphan at Pathawira, came to the United States for school, has a college degree, and is working in a local school. Next to him is Reese Algren. So definitely our spirit and energy for the team. Next to her, of course, is Stacy, her mother. That is Carol. So Carol is an OBGYN from Canada. So we got a little bit of the northern perspective during our hike. Myself, then Joni, who is also an OB-GYN. She is from Alaska. And next to her is Mary, also an OB-GYN from Arkansas. So we are from all over the world on our journey. Why climb Kili? People ask me that all the time. Well, collectively, our team of 8 climbed Kilimanjaro to raise funds to complete the construction of a surgical center at Pathawira, and we'll show you pictures of that new building. Individually, Our reasons for climbing Kili varied widely, from wanting to help the people of Malawi and Pothuwera to a bucket list adventure. Not on my bucket list, but for some of us it was. Overcoming personal challenges. In November, I broke my ankle, and between the 2 trips to Malawi, I lost 60 pounds. I was ready to prove something personal. We also experienced the awe, and to get to do it with friends and family and colleagues was just something that you can't describe.
Next picture, please. So Kilimanjaro is composed of 3 volcanic cones which contribute to its rugged terrain and its distinct landscapes. Our group, Team PUSH, stands for Pothuwera Unicorn Surgery Center Hikers. Very long story behind it, but we had to yell this out multiple times a day by our porters. We were gonna be Team UTI. We decided that was not good. We changed it halfway into the hike. We changed it to match PUSH, which made sense because we were obese and a pediatrician, and so we would be like, Team PUSH, like we're going up a mountain. It made sense. So anyway, we did a 6-day hike via the Shira route, starting at an elevation around 6,800 feet. Our initial trek took us through the heath and the moorland zone of the mountain, which was around 9,000 to 11,000 feet. All the while, with the snow-capped peak of Kili off in the distance, we set out behind our trusted guides, following the footsteps of those who climbed before us.
This is our first night camp. We were at approximately 11,000 feet, and we were literally above the clouds. That feeling really made us feel that we were in a sacred space, and that's where we would spend the night. We slept in small tents, usually 2 of us per tent, and we were lucky to have a camp latrine rather than use the camp bathrooms. It was a gift. Because it was so cold at night, we had to use urination devices because you didn't want to get out of the tent because you would freeze. And it's important to know at this point, we all started taking medicine for altitude. This is much higher already than we are in Kansas City.
So, next picture. So this is a picture of the Barranca Wall. From where we headed out hiking into the Alpine Desert Zone, which would take us up to 16,500 feet. At this point, we were emotionally challenged, testing our perseverance, and leaning heavily into encouraging and supporting each other. This is also where the physical challenges increased, including the infamous Barranca Wall. Of note, each day we would climb up to a higher elevation and then come back down to a lower elevation to sleep. This was to help us acclimate and to prevent altitude sickness. And many of us agree that going down was far, far worse than going up. So the first picture here is, actually, can you go back one? Thank you. So this is our first hike out across this little stream, and then to what we were seeing up ahead of us was the Barranca Wall. And what you can't tell from where you're sitting is it's literally a sheer rock face, and those little dots of color you kind of see are actually people climbing the wall. And then next. And then, so we get to this point, they call it the kissing rock. This is actually a picture of Reese kissing the rock, because you literally had to like, and then like come across it. I don't like heights at all. This was a little challenging. It was all good. It wasn't as steep as it appeared, but it was. And then down was really hard. This is me traversing down. It was very, very rocky. And you couldn't even really use poles because it was so rocky and you had your pack on your back, so down was just as bad as up.
And it's at this point we are so grateful that we had porters with us. They carried everything, and they carried it on their heads, on their backs, on their fronts. You notice in the one picture I'm not wearing a backpack. They took my backpack away from me because I was so slow. I was so thankful for that. They carried our food, they carried our shelter. By the way, some of the best food we've ever had was on the mountain. They carried our toilet, and they carried a 30-pound bag that we were allowed to bring with the essentials that we thought we needed to live on the mountains. They're not carrying their own bags. They lived in the same clothes for 7 days. They also, at times, literally carried us, pushing us, pulling us, making sure that we were getting up that mountain. Because once you start up, you have to keep going. In our day packs, You can see on our backs there, we carried water and snacks, like they said in the children's conversation.
We had snacks.
Water is very sacred on the mountain, clean water, and we were thankful that the porters carried the bulk of it. We only carried what we needed every day, and it was heavy. We were grateful that our porters were there to support us. They breeze up and down the mountain. They don't use trekking poles. They run and they climb. They take down our tents. They get to the next camp before us. They set up and they're ready to go. It was astonishing to see how that little ant colony worked. And again, we were grateful to have them with us. They're saying for going up the mountain, pole, pole, slow, slow.
So the last zone is the Arctic Summit Zone. It's at 16,500 feet to 19,340, which is actually the summit, where the available oxygen is about half of what you have at sea level. So the night at the summit base camp, we hiked in after a 4 to 5 hour hike and then slept tried to sleep from 5 to 10 and then got up, got dressed, and left around 1 a.m. So we would start summiting to hit it at sunrise. We were wearing multiple layers of clothing. I had on 5 pairs of pants, 4 shirts, 2 pairs of gloves, hat, headlamp. I'm surprised I could walk. And double socks. It was very, very, very cold. So we took out for the 6-hour hike straight up in the dark and the cold. And when we finally reached what we thought was the top, called Stella's Point, I thought I had made it. And they're like, no. We got 1,000 feet of elevation and 45 minutes up that way around the curve to get to the summit. So that was painful. This is a picture of us hiking up with headlamps in the dark. You can see clouds below us, and you can see the sunrise. And it did warm up once the sun rose. My Camelback that I had thermal tubing and insulation on froze because it was so cold. Next picture. This is a picture from Stella's Point actually to the summit. You can see we're struggling a bit. I'm in the front here, Reese is in the middle, Mary's behind me. And we were moving so slowly because one, we were tired because we just climbed straight up already, and another, there's no oxygen. And then we get up to this kind of closer to the top, and then we have to deal with glaciers. We had to traverse the glacier, and you can see how deep it is, and it's just frozen. And we kind of had to traverse around that. But we could look off, and there's just glacier out in front of us. Next picture. So this is us at the summit. So everyone felt a sense of wonder and gratitude after such a mentally and physically challenging achievement. We stared out above the clouds and the glaciers, and we felt so, so very small in the vastness of this space. We couldn't help but feel like we were bearing witness to one of nature's holy masterpieces, being literally between heaven and earth.
My journey was a little bit different. Turns out that I'm a much slower hiker than the rest of the group, and as a result, spent quite a bit of time with just my guide and porter. And I'm so thankful to this group. So the picture of me, this is not the summit, this is at the top of the Bronco Wall. And about 2/3 of the way up, I could hear them yelling my name and clapping. And it's the rest of the team at the top of the wall encouraging me to keep going, which I needed at that point because I was really mentally and physically exhausted. I got to the top, they said goodbye, they headed out. And so this is me enjoying the best cup of tea I've ever had in my life. I did set out on the summit night to climb to the summit. I left at about 10:30 because of the slowness of my pace. I got dressed in the same layers, I headed out in the dark, and about 45 minutes to 60 minutes into it, I felt an overwhelming need to stop. And I don't know if it was God, I don't know if it was the Holy Spirit, but what I heard in my head was, you've done enough. You hit your summit, and that's okay. For your safety, go back down. And I did. I did not go to summit. I came back down, surprised everybody when they came in for their midnight breakfast before they headed out, and I waited for them to get back to hear their stories. Next picture. Coming down, oh my, coming down off the mountain, you actually get to go through rainforest. And so this on the left is a picture of part of the rainforest. You can see Kilimanjaro in the back. You can see the vegetation. We saw monkeys and we saw mud, lots and lots and lots of mud. 7+ hours walking down in the mud. The lush tapestry and the wildlife made it seem really special. And at the end of the hike, our guides, next picture, perform a celebration and dance that we get to participate in, and it's really to give thanks for a successful climb for the entire group and give thanks to the mountain for helping deliver us safely. At the end of that, this is our celebration when we got back, cleaned up, and actually had a cold beverage. We were so thankful to get back to the Springland Hotel for a well-deserved hot shower.
After a week.
After a week.
So next, we are off to Malawi. So after leaving the mountain, we traveled to a different kind of holy ground, a space in which we were welcomed as family by the people of Malawi. This is our medical team here of 5. We lost Mary and Jimmy. We didn't lose them. Mary and Jimmy had to, that's not a good joke. Mary and Jimmy had to head back to the States, so they could not head to Malawi with us. But this is a picture of our medical team arriving in Lilongwe, Malawi, which is the capital. And what's most impressive in this picture is that we have all 15 pieces of our luggage. It all made it. And let me tell you, the Tanzanian government tried to prevent that from happening. They did not like some of the stuff we had in our bags. They tried to take it. They threatened to send Mary to jail. Carol got threatened also. Maybe Mary paid money. Carol paid money. Anyway, lots and lots of drama. But we got all of our bags to Malawi, and we don't plan to take it through Tanzania again. From here, we set off on the 2-hour drive from Lilongwe into the heart of rural Malawi to Salima, where poverty is the norm for these mainly sustenance farmers. Childbirth is life-threatening, and the prospects for a better life are a bit bleak. Next slide.
Transportation. So getting around, and we took pretty much every mode of transportation. Well, what I want to point out is that we don't think twice about hopping into the car to go to the grocery store, or I can go get a tank of gas. Well, there were many days where you can't get gas in Malawi unless you buy it off the black market. Cars are a luxury. We're able to get to school. We see children on a routine basis on bicycles, being bicycled by their parents. It's an amazing sight to see just one person on a bike. Usually there are 2 or 3. We also saw plenty of cattle, so there's not street lights. And cattle have the right of way. You notice they are driving on the right side of the road, former British colony, which Stacy did in the dark. Amazing that we all made it. She was fantastic. What also really impresses me is they carry everything, and they carry it for miles and miles. Firewood, water. For the few lucky that have a motorbike, which is what they call a motorcycle, it's another way to transport them. And there was something really striking about this picture. You rarely saw a single person. This is the ultimate in carpooling. And these 3 gentlemen had on their suits, and I suspect that they were headed to work, but that really struck me as something so different than what we see here.
So life in Malawi is hard, but its people have a welcoming spirit, and it reminds you why Malawi is known as the warm heart of Africa. When we arrived at Porto Wira, we were greeted by the orphans, many of whom we had seen at previous visits. They had smiles, and they wanted us to take their picture. They wanted pictures all the time. And when we got there, we were a little late, but they had a planned parade for our arrival, along with singing and dance routines to celebrate our climb and our fundraising.
Yes.
Well, a doctor in Texas is going viral for the way that she's giving back to her home country. In addition to her patients in Houston, she's also the founder of a clinic, an orphanage, and even a school in Malawi, dividing her time between all the people who need her. NBC News Daily anchor Kate Snow has her story.
When Dr. Annie Alanis first arrives back at the clinic she started in the East African nation of Malawi, everyone wants to say hi. For the past 12 years, she's performed life-altering surgeries.
Dr. Annie Alanis brings a medical team from the U.S. back to her home country of Malawi.
They first discovered her work on TikTok.
They bring all of their own equipment and supplies from the U.S.
But her story is so much bigger. Annie Alanis grew up here, the eldest of 8 children.
We carried water on our heads. I remember the closest well that we had close to our house was about 5 miles away. So on school days, I recall we used to get up like at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Her father practiced medicine, and she learned from her mom that pregnancy in Malawi was dangerous.
Before she would go in to deliver, take me around the house and show me where everything was, sort of preparing me for the possibility that if she didn't come home with that birth, then I would be able to take over the family.
It made Annie want to study women's health care, and when she was 16, an American doctor gave her the chance, moving her to the U.S. and paying for her education.
I tell people it felt like winning the lottery. To be the person that was given such an incredible opportunity was an amazing gift for me, one that, has completely changed the trajectory of my life.
The first time she returned to Malawi, she helped at her father's clinic and watched a young girl who could have easily been saved in the U.S. die of dehydration.
I think that was probably my epiphany at that point. I started to realize then that was my life, that I could have been that little girl who could have died of dehydration, but that somehow, I was spared. I really sort of started to ask myself, and really, what is my purpose in all of this?
Dr. Alanis founded Pathawira, meaning safe haven, a complex with an orphanage, school, and clinic. The clinic now treats over 30,000 patients a year, like Asinder Congo, who sells tomatoes for a living. She's had chronic pain from very large uterine fibroids for years. Now she would finally get surgery. She says, right now I'm so happy that my problems are coming to an end. I lacked peace in my life and wasn't living freely.
It feels like freedom.
Dorothy Simfukwe's surgery went well too, and she'll be able to attend her son's college graduation.
I'm so excited. My pain, no more pain. I'm a happy woman now.
It's not easy for the medical team. The lights go out often, and they operate by flashlight or headlamps. Dr. Alanis performed over 50 surgeries on this recent trip in the one OR at a local hospital. In November, they're opening a new surgical center with 4 more operating rooms.
All those things happened because I had a dream and I shared it, even when I didn't have resources, and people came along and joined me.
Kate Snow, NBC News.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top.
So Annie really is the heart and soul of Pathawira, and her story is one of determination, perseverance, and dedication. And you got to hear her story, so you'll see why Pathawira is so special to both Stacy and myself, and why we were willing to climb mountains with her.
And that story just aired on Monday. It was brand new. We knew it was coming. We knew the patients we were operating on had been talked to Kate Snow. We just didn't know when and how it was going to all come together. And that was all filmed while we were there. That celebration at the beginning was when we were coming in the car, and Andy got out like a celebrity and walked with the kids. So we were excited to be able to share that. So similar to the way we carried water up Kili, women in Malawi also carry water. Many for miles and miles, and most with a baby on their back or a hip or another in tow. Water is precious. And so this is kind of where Colonial's journey began also. So back in 2009, Annie had shared her dream. She had bought land in Pathawira in college, which was very cheap at the time. And she knew she wanted to give back, she just wasn't sure. And while she was here in residency and we had connected, she was able to start putting this dream together and make connections. She came to Colonial and spoke to several of us in the Heritage Room, the Board of Outreach of the community, about her goal. And the first thing she wanted to do was build orphanages, because we had a lot of orphans in Malawi. From HIV, from childbirth, you name it, there was a lot of orphans that needed homes. So the goal was to build an orphan duplex followed by a school. The clinic, the birthing center, the surgical center were all dreams down the line. So when we started talking about how could Colonial help, how can we get involved, there were several ideas and several ways that we could. And after it, we sat around and Miriam Fleming said, well, it's simple. Water. They have to have water. We have to have clean water. You have to have water. And so Colonial bought one of the first wells at Pathawira. And this is a picture from one of the people that were involved in the project at the time that gave to the church. This is actually in the library. If you've never seen it, you should take a look at it. That water well helped make bricks that helped build all the orphan duplexes, then that helped build the school, then that helped build the clinic, the birthing center. Obviously was instrumental in kind of guiding us what made sense, because she'd been to Africa and she had seen what was needed there.
So the healthcare challenges in Malawi are significant. The Salima District Hospital, that isn't always the case in Malawi. Some of the greatest healthcare needs are for women and for children.
So in the ORs of Salima District Hospital, it's not unusual for the electricity to go out mid-surgery. If you are waiting for a C-section and the grid goes down, then you wait. Unfortunately, we have seen many babies and mothers suffer because of the poor infrastructure. And that's a picture of us. You can see I have a headlamp on. We have headlamps because we were just mid-surgery and it just, nothing, everything gone. Suction, cautery, everything. And we just keep going because you can't really stop. And the things that we consider normal care in hospitals are not possible there. Family members have to come and care for the patient, and they literally camp out behind the hospital. There's an entire campground where they cook for the patients, they wash clothes, and they stay close by.
So this picture really reflects the difference in childbirth in Malawi. The baby on the left is wrapped in his mother's chitenje, which is the beautiful cloth that you see throughout Africa. It's also what they use to identify their babies. There's no patient bracelets in Malawi. And this child was lucky. His mother got to have a C-section and will leave with her baby likely the same day, if not before. The other picture is really special for two reasons. The child on the right is Jennifer, and Jennifer, in my eyes, is actually lucky. She was found on the side of the road next to the bodies of her mother and twin, who didn't make it on the long walk to the hospital. Certainly Jennifer does have challenges, but she is so well loved and so well taken care of by this group of women. So who you see sitting at these school desks, these are the mamas. And each of the orphanage buildings has a mama. Many of them had families of their own, or they were childless. Many of them are widowed. And now they've given their life to helping to take care of the future of Malawi. Taking care of patients in Malawi is humbling. We don't have what we have in the United States. And patients walk for miles and miles to come see us and to be seen in the clinic, 30,000 plus in the outpatient clinic alone, especially when they hear that there's a team from America here. They are incredibly respectful. They are all grateful, which is something that we feel less and less in our practices here. I saw this little girl on the left in clinic. This was the best smile that she could muster. She's pale, she has a fever, and she's really weak. She has malaria. It's probably not the first time she's had malaria, and it certainly will not be the last time. Unlike if she had presented to my clinic, she's not going to be admitted to a hospital. She's going to go home on outpatient medication and probably be just fine.
On the right-hand side is a picture of the women's ward at Salima District Hospital, where it's not uncommon to have multiple patients in one bed and on the floor, and all different ages and conditions all in one big room. The labor and delivery area is also as crowded. And of note, in Malawi, they separate out the men, women, and children into different sections of the hospital. Families are expected to provide everything. There's patients and families are supposed to bring everything in, sheets, bandages, and if the patient IV fluids or special medications, they have to walk into the town and purchase them, an expense many of them do not have. And as previously mentioned, if loved ones need blood, O negative, I'm a universal donor, I can give to anyone, and so we usually save me until someone can't get enough blood in order to get their surgery or it's an emergent situation, and then I donate. So simple acts of service, such as holding the hand of a scared child, comforting a woman dying of cancer, which there are too many of from preventable things like cervical cancer, or handing a healthy newborn to its mother, all felt like God was acting through us.
There is hope, and I want to share that hope with you. So because of the generosity of so many donors, people donated to the two of us that I didn't even know. and many of you here at Colonial have done the same. The Potawira campus is thriving. In addition to the school, where there are 240, 250 students, not only from the orphanage, but from the local Salima community, there's the healthcare clinic, there's a birthing center, there's a mill. They're in the process of building a high school. Previously, secondary education was unattainable for most of the orphanage because it was really expensive. There's a new computer center. Children are learning how to take care of themselves in the 20th century and using computers. The upper right-hand picture, that is the new early education center, where the youngest of the children in the orphanage will be taken care of. On the left is a playground. This was new from the last time we were there, and something really special that we take for granted. For the kids at Potawira, having a playground where they can play and be kids is amazing. And the bottom one, well, that's holy ground in their eyes. This is the start of a new soccer pitch, which is definitely their most favorite activity. Getting to hear children laugh, which they do all day long, from these areas reminds us that this is truly a special place.
So our final week in Malawi was not spent resting. Instead, we were trying to finish up the projects that were started. So we joined Reese and the other young adults in finishing up the bookcases that they had built to hold the new book donations for the new library. And we tasked the young people with this task of building these bookcases, but we kind of forgot how difficult that was. So they had to find somebody to give them transportation into Salima, because we were rural. They had to find someone to translate for them. They had to go buy the lumber, figure out what lumber they needed, figure out what nails they needed. When they went to buy paint, they were offered 3 colors, blue, red, and green, and there was no sample, so they just took a leap of faith and went with blue. And then they had to come back and construct it. And amazingly, it happened. They were not perfect, but they stood up, and we helped finish with painting. And then you can see on the bottom, Ari and Reese are sorting all the donations of books that we had brought with us. We tried to make sure we divided out preschool and elementary and middle and high school. We brought all these books to help put into the library with the goal of increasing every time somebody comes to bring so many books to just keep it going.
This is sunset at Potawira, and below you will see the children who laugh and dance well after the sun goes down. Our trip to Malawi and to Kilimanjaro taught us many lessons. Kili taught us perseverance, resilience, and the appreciation of awe in the world. Malawi taught us humility, gratitude, and the sacredness of human connection. We truly felt God's presence as we were hiking Mount Kilimanjaro and as we serve in Malawi, and have come to realize that the holy ground is actually wherever we open our eyes to see it. So Zikomo, thank you. Not only for listening to us and letting us tell our story, but supporting us and supporting Potawira. We hope you'll see holy ground, not just in faraway places, but here at home, at Colonial, in nature, in service, and in our community. Zikomo.